Welcome, everybody, to the world-famous Adventurers Club of Los Angeles. My name's Rich Mayfield, member 1211. I'm joined tonight by Sharon Lobel, member 1247. It's an honor to be with you here tonight, and I understand that this flag in front of us, you're returning an official expedition flag for a trip you just took.
I am, yes.
So can you kind of tell us about where this trip was and why this was an expedition flag, why it was such a significant journey?
Yes, this flag went to many different places. So started out in Australia, to Timor-Leste, to Bali, to Raja Ampat, to Papua New Guinea, and then ended up outside a little small island called Luluata outside of Port Moresby. So it was quite an honor to be able to apply for the flag and actually get to carry a flag. And we had a lot of fun, and everybody wanted to sign the flag and wanting to know about the Adventurers Club as well as us learning about them. So there's a lot of signatures on there. There's actually a fingerprint from one of the Papua New Guinea women who couldn't sign. And so we decided to ink her thumb, and she actually put her thumbprint on it. So it's quite an honor to have all of that and remember it.
It's a long tradition of having everybody sign the flag, all the people that you encounter
Yes.
on your journeys to sign the flag, which is something that's cool about having these, the big wall of flags here. But this one's especially unique because you're a new member, 1247,
Yes.
and you're actually the first female member of the club to carry one of these flags.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Very honored.
Very cool. And again, also, this is the first night that I've seen you. You have your button decorated. Your official Adventurers Club button is now decorated, and it looks like it's a shutter.
It is.
So
yes.
this is definitely, like, this trip for you was definitely about the photography.
Yes, it was a lot about the photography. Of course, exploring and talking to people and hearing their life story and the history. And, we wanted to know as much about them as they wanted to know about us. Some points a little too much, like I was afraid I was going to be kept there. There was a couple of places I didn't know if I was going to be had for dinner or in the boiling pot, So it was fun, and it definitely was about photography. And as a photographer, we take a click and it's a piece of history, and it's something that we never can get back again because you've just captured a moment in time.
So take us through the first location here. Where did you guys? And you went with Bob Oberto. What's his member number?
Yes.
1124.
Yeah, close.
Yeah.
Far between. Yes, of course I couldn't do any of this, without Bob.
You might have been able to, right?
I might have been able to, but he's a big supporter.
It's more fun, when you do this with other people, right?
Yes, a lot more fun. But we're working our way to Timor-Leste so we could free dive with the pygmy blue whales. And so I was like, I just have one more continent I need to really check off the list. So why can't we just kind of swing around by Australia and spend a little bit of time there so I can kind of see a little bit about it? And, I may want to go back and take a trip and take some people with me. So we did that first. I was able to actually have my 7th continent on this trip.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what about the photography in Australia? Oh, who's this guy?
Oh, well, if you're a big soccer, rugby player, this is Mario Fenici. And we happened to be at a restaurant one night, and his wife just came up and started talking to us. She wanted to know if we were British or American or whatever, and she started telling us who she was, and she's like, oh, I want you to meet my husband. We're so happy Americans are coming to visit.
You gave off that vibe in
yes,
Australia?
Yeah, definitely. So we're with Christine and Scott, another couple that's joining us, and so Mario comes over to the table, and he begins to tell us she starts to tell us who he is, and he's the Maltese Falcon of the Australian rugby team. And we were so enamored by him. He was just so wonderful to speak to and talk with, and she was like so happy to speak to other people because he is suffering from dementia from the sport. So he kind of sort of remembered who he was and what he had done, and he repeated it a couple of different times, but we didn't care. We just listened to him and spent time with her, chatting with her. So it was an honor to meet someone. They were happy to meet us, and we were excited to meet him. So we all had to take our picture with him.
Yeah.
This is one of a kind. This guy.
So I want to get into some of the stuff that you got to see in Australia.
Yes.
We're skipping to the end, right?
That's okay. Well, one of the biggest things we did is walk the Sydney Bridge. So that's quite a feat walking from one end to the other, and you can actually go up to another level. But if you know me, I'm scared to death of heights. So I looked at Bob and I'm like, no, thank you. I will do anything pretty much for a photograph, but I am not going up there. There's just no way my legs can take me up there.
Did he go up there or no?
No,
you took a picture of him up there?
He's okay. I'll stay with you. So yeah. So we left there. We were only there a few days, and like I say, we're making our way to Timor-Leste, where we're in the airport, and this guy looks at us, and he looks like a very intelligent, kind of businessman, and he's looking at us like, you guys look very smart and sophisticated. What are you doing going to Timor-Leste? And we're like, we're going to dive with the whales. What else would you go to Timor-Leste for, So he was like, oh, really, really? Because it's not really a very famous place unless
Right.
you know of someone who's been there. Most people don't even know where Timor-Leste is,
So I think you concluded some maps. You want to point it out to us here?
do.
We had
If Phoebe can find it, so if you're looking at Australia, and you look to, that one I'll come back to, Phoebe, that's the pygmy whale migration area. But if you're at the top of Australia and you go west towards Indonesia, there's a little small strip of land between like Bali and Australia. And Timor-Leste, East Timor-Leste is separated, so you have east and west. She's getting close. And it's just a little speck in the middle of nowhere. It's called Dili, East Timor-Leste.
And this is on the whale migration path, right?
Yes.
And did you time your arrival there to kind of like be in the middle of the season?
We did. Bob and I had been there before. We knew November, December was the best time to go. The pygmy blue whales are migrating from southern Australia, coming through the strait, coming across through Timor-Leste, right across there. And so that's, we timed it just right, again.
And you got to free drive with some, I'm
We
assuming.
did.
And did you get a really good picture?
I did, several.
Did anybody get a
We all
picture? Did Bob get a good picture
We
of
all
you?
did.
Or
So here's a little story to tell you. So we had the Adventures flag, And I looked at Bob one morning and I said, do you think that you can swim down and take the flag and turn around and I can take a picture? He looked at me like, sure. And I'm like, okay, let's try it. So I knew I probably would only have one shot, because the whales are moving, you're moving. There's so much excitement when this all occurs. So Bob goes down. He swims down probably 30 feet. The whale's probably about 50 feet below him. And he turns the flag, and I got one shot. And there it is.
Nice.
And there's actually a video. I'll let Phoebe, I'll just tell a little story about it. But it was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like the first time I ever swam with him, I came up from underneath and I was crying. And the boat captain's like, are you okay? What's the matter? And I'm like, that was the most amazing thing I think I'd ever encountered. Here's one of the largest mammals on Earth, and it just swam underneath me, and it was just spectacular.
And this was all free diving, right? Oh, here's the video.
Yeah, here's Bob going down. He's swimming. Here goes the whale. I click. So the video was taken by one of the other girls. She had like a 360 camera underwater, and then I used my underwater still camera to take the photo. So it was great.
So when you guys went out there, you were basically going to this place specifically to dive with these whales.
Yes.
This wasn't a side trip. You went there to do that.
Correct. It's a very, very poverty-stricken, small little village, and I mean, there's barely one motel on that part of the island. And here we are on the boat. Bob's kind of like, oh, there's a whale. We see it. We get prepped to get in the boat. We all have our fins and snorkels and mask on, and we're just hanging off the side of the boat. There's the crew. We're hanging off the side of the boat.
And then you're hunting down whales, and then when it's ready to go, everybody jumps?
We use drones to find them. So we're searching for them, and here's pictures of the drones, and we see them coming. And it looks like a freight train coming at you. And they're just this massive, massive spine, black spine coming at you.
And then they just say, jump in front of that thing.
Yep. And we just jump in, and the next thing you know, they're just, you're right at them, like from here, me to you, and they're just swimming right underneath you. And if they start to dive down, then you can just free dive down. And, some of them, Bob and a couple of the other people, could dive down about 60 feet, and they'd just be right on top of the whale. And there's a picture of Bob right on top of the whale.
Do you get to touch the fin?
Close.
Close?
Very close. It was a little nerve-wracking because I was just afraid the fin would, pop up. If you get hit or whacked by one of those, we could be knocked out. So we have to be a little careful.
Did they have safety divers with you, or was
No.
it? No. It was yeah, it was a very unofficial operation.
They
had drones,
We had the drones, and it just helps us because we cover a lot of We're out from 7:30 in the morning until 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon. We're out all day long. We take a lunch on the boat. Nobody wants to go back. You're out there, and this is once in a lifetime. They only come through there just a short, time. So you want to make sure you see every one of them that comes through. And, we encountered a mother and her calf, but they were very skittish, we could tell, but just flying the drone over them and stuff. And we just decided not to go in the water with them. And we encountered sperm whales, dolphins, all different kinds.
And if we go back to that migration path, do we have that?
Yes. There's only 5 species of blue whales in the world. So you have your pygmy, you have your Antarctic, your North American, your Northern Indian Ocean, and your Chilean. That's it. That's all you have. So being able to swim with these guys is, it's a once-in-a-lifetime adventure.
So right where that note is, I can't read it from here, but that's basically where you guys were?
At the bottom, that's where they'll start to migrate.
Right, but where did you
And then we,
intersect
at the
this
very
route?
top, when they come up through, you'll see the Banda Sea. So you'll see Indonesia, and you see where the second arrow is. That's about where we were, right in between the first and second arrow at the top. Yeah, we're just little dots on the map.
Very cool. So, I mean, that's a good start to your trip, right?
Yeah.
You meet a rugby player and you know, in Sydney.
Swimming with the
And then
whales.
you get the shot that you wanted to get.
Yeah.
Which, thank you. Thank you for getting a shot with the Adventurers Club flag underwater.
Yeah, that's
very cool.
one of a kind, right?
Yeah, it is. So where did you guys go from here?
So we left here, and let's see, we flew back, where did we go from here? We flew to Bali and had one night overnight because you couldn't catch the ferry until the next day, early morning. Crossed all the way across from Bali over to one of the Gili Islands. There's 3 Gili Islands. So you have Gili Twanga, Gili Mino, and Gili Air, and we were on Gili G'day. So it's a very, very small little island again, just off the nook of Lombok, if you know where I'm talking. So you see Lombok on the far right. So we took a ferry all the way across, about an hour and, like an hour, 15 hour and 30 minutes on this ferry to get
And what
there.
was your objective here?
Here we were diving again, and we had actually picked up a couple more people for a different crew, and we're checking out the pygmy seahorses, all the nudibranchs. I wish Kevin Lee was here. He could tell me all about it again. That's how I kind of got into photographing a lot of the smaller amphibians and nudibranchs and all of that is basically from Kevin Lee.
And this was standard, this was scuba diving on air,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So we scuba dived Gili G'day and all around the different islands there. And we were there for a week. And we just encountered so many beautiful fish and coral, and the ocean's thriving there. It's doing very well. So we cataloged some of the corals and the fish and stuff like that. And
we have some pictures of that stuff?
I believe so. There's a few there. Some underwater, some videos.
Because it seems throughout this whole trip, like you weren't going to the regular places, right?
No.
You were definitely going off the beaten path, which is good.
Yes. Yeah.
Very specific islands for very specific purposes, which I like.
Yeah. This is when we went back to Bali, and we went to, this is the Basaic Temple. It's one of the oldest temples and it's the holiest temple in the whole country of Indonesia. And the split gates take you through the split gates, which lead you to another platform and another building. And there's like 28 different temples within this particular
When you say the split gates, I think we had a picture of that. It's a very striking image.
Yeah, the split gates are.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is the steps and the gardens that are there. That's the entrance to the temple. And it's just gorgeous again. And there's so much history that is there. And just reading about it and just talking to, there was like these 4 ladies sitting and they would talk. And I don't know, I guess they thought that Victoria and I needed something to eat. They were like giving us bananas and talking to us. And we could hardly understand them. Their language was broken English. But they were so enthralled that we were there visiting, and it was raining that day, and we didn't really care if it was raining or not, and we went anyway. I mean, it became a downpour.
Yeah.
But we just, that's what we do. We just go through it, just keep going.
So so is that kind of the end of the diving stuff that you were into?
No. At the end of our trip, which our trip was 2 months, Bob had done 49 dives and I had done 45.
Wow.
And most of the time, people don't even get that in a lifetime, but just this one trip, we had done we'd done that many dives. So, yeah.
So after you went diving at those islands, you came back to Bali and you toured around a little bit. Where did you go after that?
Yeah, then we left and we flew to Sorong through Jakarta. and we ended up in Raja Ampat. And again, we had to take another ferry and go all the way out to the island to catch our dive boat. We hired a private dive boat. Here's Raja Ampat. And we hired the boat just for ourselves. And again, we're traveling through all the islands, going through the different archipelago of all, underwater and above water. And there's our crew for that. So we had a great crew and a great time. A lot of laughs, a lot of underwater adventures.
And you chartered this whole dive boat.
Yeah.
Did you bring anybody else along, or just you guys?
We brought everybody with us. That whole entire group that we had was that.
So walk me
Bob
through.
and I
Can you
had-
back up the last? Walk me through who's with you at this
Yeah.
point on this journey, because you have
So
your crew,
this
but
is,
like
this is Fandy and Fat and Saldy, who were our dive masters.
Uh-huh.
And again, they were so happy to sign the flag and, wanting to know about the Adventures Club. And they thought it was so cool that I was one of the first women, they were just like, what? They don't have women? And, and I go, they do now, So they were all excited. So the guys sitting at the bottom, they're part of the crew, which run the boat, and there's the mechanic and all that. You have to have all those guys, and then the captain of the boat is standing in the middle between Bob and I, and then the two dive masters, and then up at the top is Patrick, and he's from Italy. And then I think Diane Peshnik. She comes here sometimes and at the Adventures Club, and we actually met her here, and she wanted to go and dive with us. And then Victoria, she's a doctor, biologist, so we had a biologist on board with us to give us a lot of really hands-on of underwater species and what we. And then the next guy is Nels. That's Bob's cousin down in San Diego. So we built a whole crew around this dive trip, and we're all dive masters, and we just had an amazing time. Yeah.
So what kind of photos did you get out of this, and what kind of stuff did you get to see?
There's, the manta rays are my favorite. So there's a video, maybe Phoebe can find it, of the mantas, and we're just kind of cruising along. Yeah, there's even sound on them.
Here we go. I don't think this video's up, Phoebe, so we're gonna have to skip it. Can you guys see that on the screens? Probably not. Yeah, go ahead and pause this video.
Okay, yeah, we can hear it. But the manta comes along, and I could see it. It's just like a shadow way in the back. And you're like, okay, here comes the manta. And it's like the wingspan was about 18 feet across.
Whoa.
And I saw Bob to my right, and he's like right up here, and there's this group of coral. So I just kind of hung out by the coral and just kind of, floating there and staying there and looking. And I saw it coming, so I started my video, and it just kept coming at me like a stealth bomber, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, coming right at me. And it just came and just floated next to me, and it kind of just turned its eye, and it would look at me, and I don't know if it was fascinated with the bubbles or just me or trying to figure out what it was or whatever, but we connected, and it just stayed there forever, and I just got amazing photos. You could see all the rib cage underneath it. There was like another fish attached to it underneath. So
The remora or whatever?
Yeah, little remora, yeah.
Do we have a picture of that manta ray?
I think there's some there. But there was beautiful coral gardens. Again, there was very few places that we found that the coral had died, that there were problems with it. But it was very, very few. Yeah, it's a big puffer star. And I think there's a pygmy seahorse, and I don't know if Phoebe can find them. She's probably like...
I'd like to see that manta ray.
Yeah. Hopefully she
18
can get
feet,
there.
huh?
Yeah. It was not.
That's crazy.
It was not
Like, just
shy of
huge.
anything like. It was huge. And there's a pygmy seahorse. Now these are very hard to find, and you have to find them on the fan coral, and you kind of have to look for the eyeball. You have to look for it to move, and when you can find them, and so and it takes on the,
And that's like
it's about like that, yes.
that big?
Yeah.
So how long
And
did
then-
it take you to find that? Did you know it was there? You're like, I know there's probably one here. I got to find one.
Yeah, we all kind of go to the coral and kind of look to see if we can find certain things that are attached to it. It probably took about, 5 or 6 minutes there to find it. I mean, the ocean was just abundant of fish, all different colors, from butterfly fish. There's a video of butterfly fish. We got into this one school. There had to have been 50 butterfly fish, the big butterfly.
Yeah.
And they just swam right, here they are. They just swam right along with us. I converted it to black and white because I thought it was a little more dramatic.
It is.
They're actually yellow and silver and got black stripes on them.
And they're just holding position there in the current
yeah,
a
we're
little
just
bit, right?
swimming along with them. There's Bob just kind of hanging out. We could have stayed there forever, but we were on our way back up. We were on our ascend, so we were kind of, just buying a little time till we acclimated. So, but it was great.
I feel like Bob's the type of guy that would grab one by its tail if he could. Is that the kind of diver he is?
No, I would be the one to grab it by
Like
the
he's
tail,
just
and he
sitting
would
there
tell me,
waiting.
"Do not touch the
He's
fish."
waiting. He's like,
I'm
No?
the rule breaker. He's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, he would be like, "Do not touch the coral. Do not touch the fish." And I'm like, well, I wanted to know what it felt like,
Yeah, it's important.
So, yeah.
As long as your hands aren't gloved, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know when I first started diving back in the 80s, we wore gloves because we didn't want to touch the coral, we didn't want to do anything, and now you carry a stick and you kind of place yourself in the sand,
Yeah.
and I kind of put myself between two rocks so I could balance my camera, or sometimes I've got my camera, up on the stick.
Do you have a special stick for that, or are you just
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a special stick. It lives right here on this hand.
It just helps you
Camera on
ground
this
yourself.
hand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I just kind of stable myself. Yeah.
Interesting.
See, it's a lot of times you're in current, and you get in the current, you're just flowing right along,
Yeah.
the water. You can't stop.
As opposed to just wearing extra weight and just slamming yourself down in the
No.
reef.
I had not done a lot of current diving except
Uh-huh.
for a couple of years ago, and so I got my initiation on current diving. So they give me this hook, and I'm like, wow, this thing looks like it's dangerous. It could hurt somebody. It's got this big 3-prong hook on it and all this. And he goes, oh, no. So we're going to dive through this area, and we're going to go along the wall, and then we're going to come to this open area, and it's called the shotgun. And I'm like, okay, shotgun, big deal. Okay, I'm just following
You're the shot.
everybody. I shot through that thing. I thought I was 3 miles away from everybody because I thought nobody was going to find me. I hooked on the first piece of rock I saw. You can't touch the coral, You got to look for a rock, and you're flying in this current. And I just latched on, and I'm literally this way in the water, just straight out, like you're flying, like you're holding on to something. And I look back, and I see Bob, and he's like motioning for me to let go. Dive master's like, let go. And I'm like, no way am I letting go. Because I just knew I was going to be drifting, and, I'd be 3 miles down and then never find me, So I'm like, okay, so here comes the dive master slowly up to get me, and he takes my arm and he lets go, and I'm like, okay. And we went around, and it was just this calm as glass. Just all we had to do was just get around the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't he just explain that to me? Why did he say you're the shotgun?
Interesting.
So so now I won't say a lot more comfortable in current, but I'm more comfortable in current. So
That's interesting. Yeah, the only brief I got when I did one of those was just stay with the group.
Oh yeah, right.
If we all end up over here, that's okay.
Yes.
If we end up over here and you end up over here, that's not good. I'm like,
it was not good.
okay, copy that. Yeah.
But it's okay.
That's pretty cool.
I'm getting better. So we had we did one hike up to the top of it's called skipping Painimo. beautiful.
This is on Bali?
This is in Raja Ampat.
Okay, sorry.
So we went to Payanimo, which is one of the islands, the archipelago areas where you have an overlook of all the islands. You know, these are all limestone islands that are just jetting up, you know, out of the turquoise water. It's just spectacular, beautiful. And we did a big hike up, and I come to find out that that particular area is probably one of the most photographed in Indonesia, and they say it's just like it's postcard, you know, photo.
There's your postcard
There's
right there.
my postcard, so I got my postcard. And our boat was on the farthest side of the islands there, so we had taken a little dinghy across, and then we had to hike up all these stairs all the way up. So we were up pretty high.
It's interesting because this looks completely uninhabited, but there were trails and stuff. Was there anybody living? No trails?
No, very few. No, very few. Like one or two. That's it. There's nobody living there. Everybody's so remote. Off. You know, most people travel by boat. You know, to these islands.
What do you see? Like when you come across like a village or anything, can you really see it from the boat? Is it obvious, or is it?
Some of it you can. You can see like a lot of the churches and some of the huts and things like that. You can see. This is it. It's tropical.
Yeah.
There's no way that. That's why most of the huts are out over stilts. You know, they're all over the water because there's really no place to build.
Where do you land on an island like that? How do you get from your boat to there?
Dinghy.
Yeah.
You better hope you have a dinghy or a kayak or a paddleboard or something like that. That's the only
And there's
place.
a little spot you can kind of start climbing up or whatever?
Yep. There's a little dock.
Was this your dive boat?
This was the Macumba 2. This was our dive boat. Yeah, it's an old Phoenici. It's all wooden built. I mean, it's old, you know, but boy, do you really feel like a pirate when you're on that ship.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, let's go. What are we going to find? So.
And since you chartered it, you could basically kind of go where you want to. Like, this is what we want to see. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, okay, I know a spot.
Yep, we kind of chartered out, you know, it's real fun because a lot of the places are called like, you know, the Figure 8 or Manta Haven or, you know, all these little eclectic names. There's one called the Pumpkin Patch. And
Long
the
John
Coral,
Silver's Treasure
the
Cove.
Coral Gardens, you know, and we're like, oh yeah, let's go here, let's go there, let's do that. Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was.
So how long did you spend on this boat?
10 days.
Okay.
Yep, 10 days. And we didn't want to leave.
That's where you racked up some dives, huh?
We racked up a lot of dives there. Yeah, we were diving 4 dives a day.
Oh, wow.
So we'd get up before breakfast, then we'd go dive. We'd have a little sip of coffee and a little something, get on your wetsuit, go. Then we'd come back, we'd have breakfast. We'd maybe, you know, you would rest about a couple hours in between dives. Off we'd go again to another spot, come back, have lunch, rest, go out, dive again, come back, rest, shower, have dinner, then go out for a night dive. So it was.
It's a life right there.
It was great.
So where did you guys take off after this dive boat?
So let's see. So Rajampad, okay. Then we said goodbye to everybody. I think telling someone that we're going to go to Papua New Guinea, and we were kind of going to fly by the seat of our pants because we didn't really know what we were going to do or where we were going to go or who was going to take us there. And most everybody could think about, oh gosh, Papua New Guinea, cannibals, people eating, you know. So I think we kind of frightened a lot of people.
It's easier to get people to come on board if you're like, we've chartered our own dive boat.
Exactly, yes.
Cool.
So everyone left, and Bob and I flew to Jayapura. And we had no plans. I was online.
What was your goal? Did you have an objective at this point?
Yes.
Okay, what was the objective?
The objective was we wanted to see the Dani people, we wanted to live with the people, the village. We wanted to then cross over the border, go into Papua New Guinea, and go to the Sepik River. But
no logistics planning up to that point of how you're going to make that happen. You just knew what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So we had one night down before we flew to Jayapura, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, I just booked our flight to Jayapura. We got that, check. Okay, we need a place to stay. Okay, this hotel looks fine. Let's just stay here, check. We take off. we go. We say goodbye to everybody. We fly. We get there. We start talking to a few people like, oh, we want to go hike the Baliem Valley. We want to, go spend some time with the indigenous people. And do you have a guide? Because we were told you do not go by yourself. And you can't just rent a car and drive. There are no roads. You have to fly from location to location. So we got lucky, and this guy gave us the name of this guy, and he says, well, just call him. So Bob calls him, and his name is Dani, and he's like, well, I'll be, let me come to your hotel, and we'll sit down, and we'll talk, and then we can kind of plan out. We first started with just a few days. We thought, let's just do 3 days. And then we started talking with him, and Bob and I were like, that's not long enough. We need 5 days. We need maybe 5 or 6 days, so let's start with 5 days. Now, mind you, we did not know this guy. We'd never met him. We pay him a bunch of money. We go to the ATM, get a bunch of money, pay him, and we're like, okay, we want to do this and this and this and this, and we need you to take us there. And he's like,
I got to ask, how much cash did you hand this guy?
$1,500.
Okay.
Okay, that's a lot of money for him. He thought he was rich.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally said, oh my God, you guys have no idea how much this means to me.
This trip is going to be so cool.
Yeah, well, it was like, this is going to mean so much to me and my family.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like one of a kind that comes along that you really want to go on a trip. You want to do what I love doing. And we found he is the son of one of the chiefs, grew up there, speaks all the languages, and knew where to go. And we're like, we want to spend time with the Dani people. So we have to get on an airplane. We have to fly to this little place. We get off, and the first thing, you're kind of hassled by a few local people, kind of like, what are you doing here?
This is a small airplane in a small strip, like a caravan or something, into like a dirt strip.
Very small airport, very small place in the middle of nowhere. I mean, beautiful valley below us and around us and everywhere, but just in the middle of nowhere. And I know when I texted some friends, I'm like, we're going from Jarapura to Vanimo, and they're like, I have no idea what you were talking about, or where in the world you're at, And they would text me and say, where are you at,
They Google it, and it's just a pin in the middle of a jungle.
They had to Google it, they had to look up on the map to see where we were. And so, it was just amazing that when we got there, that the people were, they wanted to know about us. So I know that there was a photo. We had to go to a market. This is at the market at the street when we land, because he was like, you're not going to want to eat what they eat. And I'm like, well, what do they eat? And it's like grub worms and fish, and and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go to the market. So he took us to this open street market. These ladies were so cute, and they all kind of tried to sell us betel nut, the betel nut with the chewing tobacco, the red, and I'm like, I would not have any teeth if I would chew that. So here we are, and we're crossing the street, and they're looking at us like, oh my gosh, who are these two people? And we go into the market, and we buy avocado, rice, and a vegetable. And that's what we take.
A vegetable?
A couple of vegetables.
Okay.
Like bok choy, sort of like a bok choy type, and a big bag of rice.
Any sauces or anything, like a little soy sauce or no? Salt?
No.
Spices?
No.
White rice, that's it?
Yeah,
and
white
bok
rice.
choy?
Yeah, it was like a bok choy and rice, and you can see how beautiful the farmers markets are. They're amazing, and this is their lifestyle. This is what they grow. This is what they sell. This is what they do. And here's the betel nut. The guy.
That's a betel nut. I bet.
That's a betel nut, and then you cut it open, and then.
Are there a bunch of betel nut? I don't know how it works. Are there a bunch in there or something?
Well, it's red, and when they chew it, it's red, and it's like a chewing tobacco?
It's like a stimulant, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. But it also will rotten your entire teeth, everything in your mouth, yeah. But when they smile at you, it's so funny because they just all their teeth are just completely gone, and it's all this red, and, they don't care. So here they are. So
That is.
she was happy. Yeah. Funny story about this couple. They're part of the Hubula tribe, and this particular tribe is one of the last cannibalism of this particular tribe. And so we're sitting with them in their village, just on the dirt. Pigs are running around, dogs. They look like they haven't had a bath in a month, you know. Everybody bathes in the river with the Crocs and the kids and everything else. There's no running showers. We didn't have a shower. We're in just a little hut, which they're called hulmets, just like little grass huts with dirt floors, grass on them. That's what we slept on. That was our house for 3 nights.
What's the, I mean, it's not cold, right?
No, it was hot.
But bedding or anything, you're just on the grass?
You're just, they
Bring a
had like a
sleeping
little
bag?
tiny little mat,
Okay.
about this thin. And you're just sleeping. I had a little pair of leggings and a t-shirt on. That was it.
Yeah.
And I
You
was
guys
fine.
get good sleep?
I did, because I was exhausted, because we hiked for like 6 hours, So
Yeah.
we got something to eat. The family came out, met us. She brought me this headdress, which they make all this stuff. And these are part of the Dani people. And there's my
nice.
headdress, which is made out of rooster feathers.
right here, right?
This is it right here. Yeah.
You wanna
this
model
is
it for us?
The headdress. No, should I? Well, I think-
Absolutely.
So you saw that. So I was so excited to get this. It still smells like the tribe. I can smell it. So it still smells like them. And these were, this is made out of orchid fiber. They make these, and they make huge.
Like out of the leaves?
Yes. And so these, this is one that they gave us. And these are made from orchid fibers, and they're usually really large. So the women put them on the back of their heads like this, and they carry, and they put all their supplies inside these bags. And some of them you'll see is they're larger than them, and they're stuffed with their stuff from the farm, the garden, and all that kind of stuff. So that just has a little wheat in it. And this was one of the chief. Chief and Bob got along very well.
Yeah.
And they all have, these are Boris Tusk, yeah. And
Oh, wow.
so this particular family, they all have the piercing in the nose, and this is just exactly like but this is a necklace that they gave us here, and this is from the pig's tail, and these are the cowrie shells from the ocean. And this means, like when someone's getting married, or they have, this is pretty much wealth. They used to trade with all of these, like
So someone gave you
shells
an
and-
engagement ring?
They did. But don't tell Bob. And this is one of the other necklaces that they gave us. And this is made out of, from the boar's bone here. And this is all the beads. And they make all the stuff there. But probably this is one of the little girls here. Do you want me to tell about this?
Sure.
So this is a koteka. And so the men, they don't wear any clothing, but they wear a penis gourd. And this is one of the penis gourds that they wear. And that we're walking down the trail, and all of a sudden, here's this man just standing there, just like this. And it's real funny how he looked at me. I wished I could have known what he's thinking. When he's looking at me, he's like, wow, this woman's tall.
Probably, yeah, she's very tall.
Very
Yeah.
tall, and look at her. She's bigger than me. And, she's like a monster or something. I don't know what he was thinking. But all I wanted to do was look at him, because he had nothing on but a penis gourd.
And Bob wanted to buy the penis gourd off of his penis.
Bob wanted to try and see which one fit.
Yeah, Bob?
So they brought him a few to try on, and he's like, no, that one doesn't fit. No, that one doesn't fit. So, sorry, Bob. So the chief says, I have one. I think this one will work just fine for
Yeah.
you. So
They let you try them on, huh? That's nice.
So this little piece of string goes around your hips, like this, and then it attaches here, and then this fits in over the penis cord. And the bigger the penis cord, the more attractive you are to the women.
Right.
So you want to try
it? All makes a lot of sense, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you can hang on to that one.
But no, it was great, and there's a picture of Bob and I and the chief, and we're holding the flag in front of the hut.
Did Bob model this thing for it?
Bob put it on, but he put it from his pants.
Bob.
He put it from his pants.
Bob, I'm disappointed. Like, if you're gonna do this, man, you got to do it. You got to do it right.
He did it in private. But this was the chief, and I'm telling you, sitting down and talking with them, and just, we just had the most amazing time. We really did, and just hearing about their culture and their lifestyle, and they want to know about us, and we want to know about them. But we live with this family, and we sat in there with their cooking. They have a separate hut for cooking, and to give them rice was like a delicacy. You'd have thought we gave them caviar. They were so happy for us to share their food.
So what is the staple, if not rice?
Fish, tapioca, fruits, vegetables.
And the tapioca is made out of?
It's made from the sago palm. And I think...
So they're not cultivating anything? They're not...
They
there's
do
no
have
agriculture?
Vegetables. They do.
Some vegetables?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have some vegetables. Corn is another one that they have.
But the big starches, they're going to that sago palm and...
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
making
especially
tapioca.
after we got to the Sepik River. That's all it was. It was fish, sago palm. I lost 10 pounds on that trip because I couldn't eat the fish from the brackish water. I just couldn't do it. It was just like, so.
Can you go back one picture? It does look, what's amazing about this, I noticed some background stuff. It looks remarkably clean.
Yes.
And well cleared. Like, I don't see any,
You don't see debris.
You
don't see anything. No. They're always working. They're so proud of what they have. It just shows their stature, their wealth of what they have, and they're so happy to have people come and stay with them.
I have heard from other people as well that's kind of the attitude, like, they're super happy.
Oh.
They're like, we got it made. Look at
Exactly.
this place. It's great.
Exactly.
And I was going to ask too, when you talked about sleeping and everything, what's the bug situation, the mosquitoes or anything like that?
Oh, on the river, we had mosquito nets to cover us,
In the hut?
Yeah, we had a mosquito net. When we were really far into the Baliem Valley.
Okay, there we go.
This one of the other family that we live with on the Sepik River. He was really proud of his place because it had a Western toilet.
Do you have a picture of it?
The bed is raised here, and he had a Western toilet that flushed, but it didn't go down a pipe. It just went down on the ground underneath the hut. But yet it's a Western toilet, And he had the other side is the shower, and it was just rainwater, a catch water from a tank above. And you don't dare open your mouth or sing in the shower, You don't want to. Everything had to be boiled. The water. We brought our own, water. But when we had coffee, we would boil the water. But he was so proud that he could offer us a shower and a sit-down toilet, because at the other family we lived at on the Sepik when we first got there, outside of Pagway, it was just a hole in the ground, and they took plastic tarp and put around, and then their dugout toilet was on the other side, and it was just a bucket shower. So, and they would just bring you a bucket, and it was okay, it was a little brackish, but again, no open wounds, and don't drink the water.
Do you take any showers in the rivers or anything like that?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. Our bodies are so different. They're used to it. And if we had one little cut or something, you know, you don't know what you're going to get. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we've hiked before and come out, you know, leeches and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So we were careful, and, you know, so, but neither of us got sick, and we made it, and we're alive, and we didn't get eaten.
I mean, that's the right way to travel. We didn't get sick, right? Like, you know, some people are like, "Yeah, that's a badge of honor." No, like the badge of honor is like, I made it through
Right.
no sickness.
Right. Right.
So how long did you spend in this village?
The first village, it was 4 days, 5 days, and we were at 2 different villages within that 5 days. And then we had to drive, that was in Papua, and that's where we were with the Dani people and the Hubula tribe, all of that. And then we left there, and we had to cross over from Papua to Papua New Guinea by car, because there was no other way for us to get where we were from the Baliem Valley and across to get down over to the Sepik River. And that was an experience in itself, too, because we were 1 day over our stay, and so we had to buy another, like, 1 day. And
With your guide.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we didn't pay any attention to it, you know, and so we go through there, and the guy's like, "Oh no, you cannot go," you know, and we're like, "What?"
Oh, your visa? You're overstaying on your visa?
like,
Okay.
and I'm like, "Bob, what's the matter? What is he saying? We can't go." And I looked over, and I saw on the screen, it's like big red letters, denied, you know, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we're 1 day short of being within our visa." So we just had to ante up and pay. But at the end of it, we started talking because our guy, Demi, I wanted him to sign the flag. So I pulled out the flag out of my backpack, and I'm having Demi sign it. And the guys are like, "What are they doing? What is the story? What are you talking about?" Well, next thing we knew, here come the security guards are signing the flag. The guy who said denied is signing the flag. You know, everybody's wanting to know about it. And they're like, "Oh, this is so cool. You know, our signature is going back to the U.S."
You're going to have to send them the YouTube link,
I know.
right?
Yes, yes. But anyway, we got across, and then we spent 4 hours with a guy who was super connected in PNG, Papua New Guinea. And he was very political, like so much of the country is, you know, they're wanting to mine the gold, they're wanting to, you know, put high rises in, and they're wanting to excavate, you know, the land and take the resources, and the people are saying no. The people don't want it. This is our lifestyle. We don't want that lifestyle. We want to live the way we live. We like living with no clothes and, you know, a sarong on, and that's it. This is how we live. We don't want the outside world in. But then there's the other side, as we all know. In the political side of it, they want to have the income, and they want to see the country grow. But so they're kind of a little bit of, you know, bickering back and forth, trying to figure that out. But they'll figure it out.
And that's this guy here posing with the flag?
That's actually one of my dive masters. So there's another one that they're signing on the floor. Phoebe, if you see it, there's like a couple of guys, and there's one in a uniform, and they're signing on the floor. So
you guys did a really good job getting this flag signed. I will say that.
I'm telling you, we had, and these are the guys, the spirit houses. I hadn't even talked about the spirit houses. Oh my gosh.
So explain to us what a spirit house is.
The spirit houses are where it's kind of like the Adventures Club, or used to be like the Adventures Club.
Okay.
Only men go there, and no women are allowed. And the only way that I was able to go in is that the chief took me with him. I could not go in without the chief. So the chief would take us to these spirit houses, and we would hear the stories. They go in, they talk about their everyday life, about if they had a problem with their girlfriend or their wife or their kids or whatever. So it's kind of like a good old boys club, like an adventures club, exactly. But they're also talking about history. What their fathers did, what their grandfathers did. Nearly, I'd probably say 90% of the people we met, their fathers, grandfathers were part of the cannibalism. This only stopped not that many years ago. Then the missionaries came in, and the missionaries said, look, you cannot be doing this anymore. This is not human. You need to not be fighting with people who come because, maybe they're here to help you, and we're here to help you. So that kind of got pushed to the side, and they took all the skulls, human skulls that they had killed all these people, and they buried them. So now they're wanting to unbury them, take them out, and they want to display them so people can see them and learn more about their history. So in this one particular spirit house, we were in there, and they're talking about it, and he's like, oh yeah, we kill the person who comes, we smash their head, we cook the brain, and we give the meat, the dog meat, to the girls. The boys get the brain because it makes them smarter. And we're like, oh, okay. He goes, come on. He says, I'll show you the smashing stone.
Oh.
He takes us out to the front of the spirit house, and here's the 2 smashing stones. And they would take the skull after the person, and smack them and kill them and break open the skull, and then they would actually cook the brain, and they thought, for the boys, they were smarter, and give the rest of the meat to the girls. That was like dog meat's what they called it.
There's a whole lot to unpack about that whole situation there,
Yes.
from the missionaries to... Yeah.
Yes, and they were happy to tell us, and then one of the spirit houses, I must have been in there a little too long, because I was taking pictures of, the wood is all hand carved, and there's all these meanings, and there's the scarification of coming. It's a spiritual, you see the backs, they're scarred, they're like an alligator, like a croc skin. So this is a whole ritual, which we are invited back in October. Next year, we're going back because we've been invited, and 50 tribes are coming to this particular area in Papua New Guinea. They're gathering for this particular guy, Nigel. He's going to get initiated and have the scarification. So we're going to go back. So if you want to go with us, we can go.
There's a lot there, Sharon.
There's a lot
going on.
but I'll go back. I think because the chief said something. One of the guys said something to the chief, and then he says, "You know what? We need to go." And he was kind of like, I got the feeling of like, okay, I'm in here too long. It's okay for the guys to be in here, but I felt as if I was in there too long, maybe taking pictures or talking to them. Or
Well, you said cannibalism in this area existed with some of these guys' grandfathers, so the generational memory hasn't gone away yet. But give us an idea, like what is that the actual timeline there? Like, are these generations like? This guy knew his grandfather, right? So
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years back, I'd say, somewhere along in through there.
And missionaries came in.
30, yeah. They've been coming in and out, in these areas since the 30s, like the first, 1938 is when one of the guys that was flying over Papua saw one of the villages below. His name's Abbott, and he discovered that particular, the Dani tribe. So that was from the 30s, and then, of course, the missionaries started coming in. Rockefeller did not come out, went in, but did not come out, So a lot of different people have gone in. So
It's amazing.
But we
That's
escaped.
pretty cool that you got... Well, you're going back, so then maybe they're like, they'll be back.
I
don't
still
worry.
may be an appetizer somewhere along the way.
But you had an entree with them with a guide from that
Yes.
tribe and everything.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
But that is a once in a lifetime experience to be able to go in there and see that.
Yeah.
And it also makes me kind of sad to think about that. Development is coming. Will it remain like that? It does seem like that they're doing pretty well, so they don't. It doesn't seem like that they have a pressing need
Yeah.
to be developed.
No,
So like if
they
someone
don't.
comes in and says, we can give you this, and that, they can say,
Yeah.
we don't need any of that.
Right. And I think what helps is people like me go in and, I'll bring 4 or 5 more people back. And then maybe that 4 or 5 people will bring another group back another
Yeah.
time, and I think
As long
it's
as you don't
just-
build a condo, it's fine.
Exactly. I actually don't want to condo there.
Yeah.
But land is very cheap, it's their way of life, and I really would hate to see it turned into something that that we couldn't go back and see this amazing part of the world, that these people live this way. This is their lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's no clothes. They don't go shopping. There's no mall. They want to grow something, they have to grow it. If they want to eat something, they need to have meat. They have to go kill a fish or a crocodile. I mean, we saw them with a crocodile wrapped up underneath one of the huts, and we asked them what they was. Oh, we have a big feast in a couple of days, and we're going to cook the croc.
Nice.
And there's the croc, and it's all hissing and
Oh, it was alive?
Oh, it's alive. Yeah, it's all tied up. And the closer we got to it, the more he tried to. He would hiss, and try. They had its mouth taped up, but they had just caught it like the day before we got there.
I would have loved to see them catch that.
Oh yeah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And what's so funny is that the kids are just playing in the water during the day. They're just what keeps. I'm sure it's happened. They didn't elaborate any too much, but I'm sure one of them has gotten, taken. But they say that the crocs basically only kind of come out at night, and they use a torch to see the red of their eyes, so they can see where they are, and that's how they catch them. Yeah.
Yeah, but then what? I see a crocodile. There's a lot of story between I see the red eyes and like it's tied up under my hut.
Yeah, someone's got to nab it.
Yeah,
right?
like did some guy jump on it? That'd be cool.
I think they'll take a rope,
Noosed it or something like that?
and they'll noose it, and then they'll drag it.
It's amazing
to
what we
shore.
can do as people, right?
I
Just
know.
being like that much smarter
Yeah.
than this lizard.
Yeah.
They're like, we can figure out how to grab that thing.
Yeah.
We can't, living in LA, we're soft, but like,
I can't even go and order a Subway sandwich. I get confused. I live alone, trying to figure out how to do this.
did you guys eat any of the local food?
Oh, yeah, the tapioca, the fish, some vegetables. They had, fresh pineapple, which was delicious. But, I lived on my rice and avocado most of the time. And, coffee in the morning.
This is rice, right?
Yeah,
This is rice and
this
some.
is one of the dish with the vegetables. And they
Is
take...
that an egg or what is that? Is
No,
carrot?
it's carrot.
Carrot. Okay.
Yeah, they had carrots and vegetables that they could grow. So, but there's no plates. There's none of that. No forks, no plates. You just take a leaf off of the palm tree.
No
and
trash.
They just
It's
wash
great.
it. Yeah, they just wash it and in the brackish water, and then you put your food on it, and then you eat it with your hand. So, yeah, it is
Very
not
cool.
a place for the faint of heart, I have to tell you. You have to be willing to not shower for 3 days,
Ah.
or jump in a stream, or, you do get dirty. My backpack has my baby wipes. That's my staple.
Yeah.
My baby wipes. It's always in my backpack.
No,
you
baby
know?
wipes are great.
Yeah, so...
But so is a river.
Yeah.
get the river.
There was a couple of clear rivers when we
Uh-huh.
were in Papua, but once we got over into Papua New Guinea on the Sepik, no, it was all brackish. We did get to go to one of their trade days, which was
A trade day.
amazing. All the villages that are nearby, there's this particular area, and they park all of their dugout boats. Now, remind me.
It's a swap meet.
Keep going. It's the one, Phoebe, where they have all the boats in front of them. They're all dugout boats. So we were lucky enough that we had a boat with a motor, okay, or else we'd have had to row the whole entire way. Most of them do not. Here it is, right here. This is just off of the side of the river, and they gather every Thursday.
So everybody's agreed. Everybody Thursday show up at this
You
bank.
bring your wares. You bring your fish you caught. You bring your tapioca. You bring your betel nut. You cook your muffins. Whatever you're doing. No ovens, but they make little. What is it like? like leavened bread, just over a fire and stuff. And they all bring it to this particular area every Thursday, and this is their shopping center. This is where they go shopping. And they trade. And they blow a whistle, and then everybody can start trading and bartering.
Really?
And, yeah.
Before
So
that, no trading happens.
no trading happens. Everybody's setting up and getting ready and getting done, and they're all lined up.
I wonder what the
Everybody's
function of like
sort
having the market is open signal. I wonder why.
I think it's just to keep somebody from getting something that somebody else needs or wants, and they try to make it fair for everybody to just
interesting.
start their trading at one time. And they're carrying it around on their heads and in the back of these big, like purses, bags that they have. Yeah, so it was very interesting. But this is how they travel along the river. These are trees that they have dug out, and these are also what they make drums. So for communicating from one spirit house to the other spirit house is by drumming. There's a video of two of the guys drumming, demonstrating this.
Yeah. And this sound will carry to the neighboring villages.
All the way across the river into the other villages, and the masks there are used for ceremonial. You'll see the one on the far left, it covers the whole entire body. They use it for, like we would call a parade, but it's mostly ceremonial.
And did you talk about, like, what are they communicating when they communicate
Well,
with those drums?
It could be death, it could be a wedding, it could be that we need your help, that we're being invaded, there's a problem, we need a doctor. There's all kinds of signals, that they can signal to the other people. No cell phone, no dial-up phone that they could call another tribe or something.
So what would be that, like, distance between these two villages that would?
Oh God, it could be up to 10 miles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, most of the villages are not too far apart. They came from all over. This is one particular village, but we got to go to that soccer game, and they had all the villages that were around because they're trying to promote some soccer among the different
Where was
villages.
the soccer game? Was it in a random place, or was it like at a school or a city? Or?
It was off the Sepik River, down a trail into this big muddy patch,
That was
just
it.
out in the middle of nowhere.
Jungle soccer.
Jungle soccer, that's what it was. And they had a little stand that you could, they.
Do you have pictures of the soccer game?
I don't think I do. I didn't put them in there because I thought about it after you and I were talking. I forgot. But this is the tribe that they did what's called a sing-sing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of questioned what it was about. And Bob and I were, their tone of voice as they were singing it was like cries. So when Demi explained, not Demi, not Nigel, I'll try to remember the other guy's name in a minute. He was trying to explain to us what it meant. But it was actually the sounds of when they were murdering people, and it was the cries from the people crying when they were dying. So they had interpreted this sing-sing into this particular cultural dance.
A lot to unpack on that one too, huh?
Yes. Yeah. So it was just from one thing to another, it was miraculously important.
So you brought up a lot of this very macabre stuff that I guess used to happen. What did safety feel like on the ground there?
We had to have a guard with us all the time. We were told, do not go out at night, do not leave alone, and you have to have someone with you at all time. Yeah, and they took us to this one place, like it was kind of like the last night before we had to be driven from Poway back to where we were going to catch the flight out. And it was like fenced in, and it was like a little jail cell with locks on the inside, all that. And I said, we're not staying here. I'll go back and stay at the village guy's house, you know, at the little hut. And so we did. We got back in the boat, went back to the hut.
What do you think the danger was? They said don't go out by yourself and all that. What's the danger? Like what would
We could die. They would kidnap us and hold us ransom.
Yeah.
They'd try to force it out of us to, get our family to wire money or send money or however it was, or just take whatever we had with us, which we had nothing. We just had a small backpack and we wear the same clothes every day except changed a shirt. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to be really careful, but I would go back in a minute.
You are going back, right?
I'm going back next October. Yep. Going back next
Very
October.
cool.
Yep. Because I really want to go. I want to see that ritual. I want to see it, and I want to experience it, again, once in a lifetime. So,
Yeah, for sure. So after that, you got out and...
Yes, we left. Yes, and everything was great, and we ended up in Port Moresby. And from Port Moresby, we were talking to someone, and they're like, oh, you should go over to this island. They've got great diving. So we ended up going over to an island and did another 14 dives.
Can't help yourself, huh?
Yeah, and that's it. That's the little island we were on, in the middle of nowhere.
And you drove off that island, or you had a boat and you went around?
We had a boat, it took us out, and we had some of the most famous dives in that part of the world, and balmy reefs and coral gardens and more, Oh, and Bob did get to sit. There were a lot of, during the war, there was a lot of airplanes that went down and everything. So we went to this one dive site, excuse me, and it was so murky, we barely could see. I actually bumped into the airplane because I couldn't see that far. I actually just hit the plane, and I'm like, oh, it's here. And so we saw where the cockpit was, so Bob got down in the cockpit, sat down in the cockpit, and I took one shot of him is all I got.
Do you have that?
No.
Oh.
Of course not.
Oh,
I mean, I have it, but I thought it was like, oh, you can't even tell.
In the cockpit?
Bob is there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had to move a skeleton out of the way or something.
I know. So it was really cool. And it was so green, though. And you
super murky, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
what type of plane was it? Do you remember? Or could you identify it?
AO2, I believe. It was an AO2, something like that. AHO? A26. There you go.
A26?
A26, something like that. Yep. And but here's the story about that is we'd already done 2 dives, so we barely had enough air left in our tank. We saved just enough to go down and just so we could go see that aircraft. We're there. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
We can. So we're buddy breathing all the way down until Bob, passes off his and gives me my own so that I could take the photo, And the other 2 guys, it was great because we got to dive with the president of the Port Moresby Dive Club and a lot of other people that we met, and we were in contact with them about where are we going to meet up to dive somewhere else. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
That's a pretty epic trip.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
So I'd like to open it up to the audience for questions.
Sure.
If you guys would like to ask any questions about this odyssey that Sharon just got back from. Lou, let's get a mic around to him. David, can you pick up that mic?
So you're having all these discussions with the families and swapping stories and everything. What's the language? What?
Well, it was translated, so there's over 800 different languages spoken in Papua New Guinea. I think like 828, 29 languages. So the person that we were traveling with, our guide, could speak the languages, and he would translate for us. Some of the guys could speak English, broken English, but it was enough. Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
My question is, because you mentioned that this is somewhere where very few people go, Westerners, I mean.
Yes.
And very, very isolated. And I noticed in the photo where you show the Adventurers Club flag with the fellow beside you, there are some fans, 2 fans in the background.
Yes.
That are for us, Spanish version of Japanese fans.
Yep.
And where would they have learnt soccer when you said they play soccer and they don't have TVs or
No
any
TVs.
electricity at all? So I was just
Generators.
curious.
The one particular house that we were in, they had a generator, and it was ran by gasoline. And so if people travel to the main city, like they go into the city away from the Sepik River, they might bring a fan in or bring a power for them. But most of the time, they don't have, there is some, but most of those are probably given as gifts, or they've really had to work hard because it's very expensive to get that kind of stuff. And I mean, we could just use like the gas generator for maybe 15 minutes, and that was just to charge up a cell phone or my camera battery or something like that. And I remember that night, the mosquitoes were extremely bad. And I remember him turning the fan on and letting us just kind of catch our breath a little bit, because it was hot,
Did you have cell coverage in a lot of the areas?
No.
No?
We didn't have any on the Baliem Valley, none. Once we started hiking through the Baliem Valley and crossing, only unless we were at the border, and at the airport,
Right.
we would have a little bit of service. And it was mostly just a text or WhatsApp. And that was just basically to let family and friends know, okay, we're still alive, we're still here. And, it might be 5 days before we had any communication in between.
Interesting.
I wanted to ask you, in the beginning of your presentation, you had a photo of yourself with a big, huge whale in the background. You were free diving. I guess somebody else took the picture. I used to dive a lot, not so much anymore. I never had any encounter with a whale shark or a whale, unfortunately, but I always wondered, when you're close to an animal like that, are they aware of your size and where you are? Because it seems like, if that thing sort of flipped his tail around, it could just break you in half.
Yes.
And you were behind it, so he couldn't actually see you. So, I mean, how does that work? Do you think they were able to sense just from something in the water where you are and how not to hurt you?
Yes, absolutely. It's like we see them coming at us. And like I said, they're wide, extremely wide, like a boxcar coming at you. So we count how many dives they dive before we get in the water. We'll see a blow, we'll count, they go down, there's a blow. We know we need to get in front of them and get in the water, and they're going to go down. So we're kind of counting and watching them and using the drone to watch their behavior. And they know we're there. They're curious. We're not going to get right next to them because, as you say, like a flipper, and I know that photo I took of Bob going over the tail. He probably was still 20 feet from that whale's tail. But just my perspective of it, when I saw him over the tail, it looked like he was just like touching it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I've been fortunate to spend a lot of time with you and even more time with Bob. And I do know that Bob for sure does not go one day without having coffee. And you both went to some pretty remote locations, so I'm curious, how did you prepare the coffee? Because I know you did. And where did you get it?
Yes. Well, you know your Uncle B. He does have to have his coffee. So we actually bought coffee and took it with us. And they would start a fire every morning. And they had an old type percolator that sat on top of the fire.
Like a mocha pot?
Yes. And the coffee would go in, and it would be boiling, and then you pour it. And then when we couldn't have that, Bob's a real good pack rat of instant coffee.
Yeah.
So we would they'd boil the water, and we would use instant coffee. So he had his coffee every morning.
Nice.
Sharon, thank you
Yes.
for the talk. Fascinating. I'm quite curious about the blue whales and the depths you were diving, free diving on the blue whales typically. And also, how many whales were you seeing at a time coming through at this time period?
Diving, if you're a really good free diver, you can go down to about 60 to 80 feet. And Bob's a real good diver, and he would get about 60 feet right above them. And most of the time, I'm on the surface because I'm taking photos and I'm just face down in the water and I'm taking them as they come underneath me. Some of them got really close, as you can see in some of the photos. They're pretty close. So I would probably say 30, 35 feet below me, the whales are. And there's a picture of a cow and calf. They were probably about 20 feet below me. It's ocean, 1,000 feet. Yeah,
Forever.
It's dark blue, very, very blue. Yeah. So they were about, this particular mother and her calf, they were probably about 20, 25 feet below me. Yeah. So I was just, that's when I came up crying, when I got that shot.
Pretty cool. Peter?
Sharon,
Yes, sir.
fantastic talk.
Thank you.
When you were in Papua New Guinea, and you're seeing how the people really didn't want much from the outside. I did notice in Market Day, with all the boats, there was 2 at least that had outboards.
Yes.
And then you mentioned gasoline for the generators. So gasoline must be one of the kind of apex commodities that they will trade and buy.
Yes,
Is there any-
definitely, definitely. And they have to wait for someone that has a vehicle to travel to the city to get that gasoline. And like when we were in Pagway, it's like the main little hub, like a little port where the boats kind of come in and out. So they would come from the inner cities where they could bring supplies, like if they needed a fan or medicine or something, But this is when that's when they would trade all of this. But most of them traveled they all had the dugouts. And they would either use the oars or they would have outboard motors.
So they were also buying clothing, Western-style clothing, but there was...
A
the
lot
other-
of it is brought by people from the outside world and given and left. I always travel with clothes I don't want anymore, and I leave them. So I left T-shirts and pants, and I never want to see that shirt again, that I was wearing for 7 days.
You got a pretty good deal with all this stuff.
Exactly.
Was there
exactly.
would first aid supplies be anything that they would trade for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I left Band-Aids and some waterproof tape and anything that I brought in that I didn't leave. I just kind of left it.
How many Band-Aids did you have to trade for that thing?
The gourd?
For Bob's gourd?
Not any. That was strange. I didn't have to do any.
All right, one more question.
So before I pass to the last question, first aid, take the malaria pills, and do they still give you the vivid dreams?
If you do take them, yes, but I did not take them, but I did have them with me. So I always take them with
Do
me.
they help much when When they're in the backpack?
No, you know, I figure that tonic water and a vodka has enough in there.
Yeah, you think?
I just figure, that tonic water, I'm just going to drink a lot of that before I go.
All right, last question here, please.
You visited the Gili Islands, correct?
Yes,
three of
Gili G'day.
Right. There were. Which country governs them? Are they independent, or is it easy to get in and visit, or how do you?
It's part of Indonesia, so they're between Bali and Lombok. And Lombok is another island just to the east of Indonesia. So if you have Indonesia that comes down, and you've got, I just referenced Bali because everybody knows Bali or Sarong or Saragon. Those are like port cities. And you take a ferry from there over. Lombok does have an airport on it, so you can fly into Lombok, but you still have to take a boat to any of the Gili Islands that are there.
Thank you.
They have, and there's no motor vehicles on any of those islands. It's all horse-drawn buggies and bicycles, or you walk.
Is it a fairly popular destination for Western people?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Gili Air is, one of probably the most popular for diving. And then I like Gili G'day because it's just really off the beaten path. There's not a lot of people that travel there. So, but it was beautiful. Yeah.
Well, Sharon, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
thank you.
I appreciate you bringing the flag back.
Yes. Thank
Congratulations.
You. Yes, thank you.
And if you're watching online, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week at the Adventurers Club.